Welcome everyone, Christine here with the first impressions video of the Legion beta, because it is available right now and I got the key and I jumped right into it as a Protection Paladin, which was my first mistake, because the Protection Paladin, as many people have mentioned, is in a horrible state at the moment, but that's my class. That's a class I've been playing since Burning Crusade. I've tried other classes, it's just the one that keeps calling back to me. You know, there's a certain attachment I've gotten to the Protection Paladin. This is the class I played through over actually 3 years really, if I'm counting Wrath of the Lich King as well, but 2 years Burning Crusade, 3 years in total experience, Wrath of the Lich King, all that. And I fucking hate it. I detest it. It's boring as shit. It's so bloody boring. How can you screw this up, Blizzard? I mean, the Protection Paladin, the Paladin in general, I haven't really liked the turn they've taken ever since they added Holy Power. I've never been a fan of Holy Power. But even that was still, you know, workable. It was, you know, it had things going for it. And now it's like, oh, you want to play Protection Paladin? It's like, oh, forget Holy Power, forget a good portion of your abilities, forget Righteous Fury, because who gives a fuck about that? We have to make it easy, more accessible and all that. Forget a good portion, forget Word of Glory as well, by the way. Forget all that stuff, and here you go, Avenger Shield is your main ability. It's like, what? Why would you make I mean, yes, Avenger Shield has been the, I guess you could say, staple, the main thing about Protection Paladins, like the most iconic spell about Protection Paladins for a very long time. But you've built the spec around Avenger Shield. This ability does the most amount of damage. It's very useful. It's quite powerful. And then there's obviously the shield, right? Shield of the Righteous. That's what you're based around. You don't have Holy Power anymore. You have unlimited mana in a sense, unless you're spamming heal, right? And you're just less useful than you were before. Like, people have complained about tanks being screwed over by the Legion changes. I detest it. I really detest the situation that my class is in right now. I detest the situation that tanks are in right now. I've tanked in Burning Crusade throughout all of Burning Crusade as a Paladin. I tanked in early Wrath, I tanked in late Wrath, I tanked in early Cataclysm, I tanked in late Mists of Pandaria, and mid Warlords of Draenor. This is the lowest point that I've ever seen my class. Like, I will say this is even lower than the shit we had to deal with in Burning Crusade for all this stuff. Now, of course, this is just a first impression, but it's a very, very poor one of the class. Beyond that, despite it being a Legion invasion, the end of the world, it doesn't have the grandeur of it. It's dull. It's dull as shit. Yeah, I mean, I know it's unfinished. There's cinematics that need to be added, voice dialogue that needs to be added, and all of that. But just the content that's there, like the Broken Shore, for instance, the big fight on the Broken Shore where Varian Rin dies and Vol'jin gets wounded and then dies. Sylvanas becomes War Chief and all that. That's just... How do you take something like that as a concept and then make it completely fucking boring? How do you do that, Blizzard? Do you know how? Because you can't fail it in any way, shape, or form. Blizzard treats its player base with utter contempt. Like, I've played other games. I've played games, quite a few games, RPGs, single-player RPGs, from companies that make difficulty levels, that make games to appeal to a crowd of people that don't care about gameplay, that are horrible as players. Blizzard takes that and makes it considerably worse. I would rather play something like Mass Effect 3 on the lowest difficulty than play the Broken Shore again. That's how horrible it is. And that's just the state of the game. Yes, you know, there's some spike in difficulties. There's enemies that have a lot of HP, which makes it even worse because you're just sitting there in a fight which you can't lose, but you're stuck there for minutes fighting against enemies that you know you will win, but just because they have a huge amount of HP means it's boring. That's kind of it. The questing is boring. Granted, I only did like a good portion of Stormheim. I did 2 dungeons on my Paladin. That's the situation. There are areas that are better, obviously. Doing the artifact quests and all that was a better point than the regular questing, but you still have the regular questing. You still have the expected stuff. And now you might say, well, you know, that's not what's relevant. Raiding's what's relevant. The end game's what's relevant. Really? You think that's true? Do you know why people started playing WoW and enjoyed the shit out of WoW? It wasn't the end game raiding in Vanilla. It wasn't the end game raiding in Burning Crusade. I played those games and I enjoyed the fuck out of them outside of raiding. I enjoyed doing the quests. I can name you some memorable quests like the Darrowshire questline, the Tyrion Fordring questline in Vanilla WoW, just as an example. Those are some of the more memorable quest lines in World of Warcraft. The Nyxia questline, god, if I need to explain why that's fucking awesome. I think I'm wasting my time here. So that's kind of the situation. Dungeons, well, maybe they get better at high level, but as they are, they're boring as shit. Really. They're easy, they're not really challenging. The mechanics, sure, maybe there's improvements in mechanics. You know, people talk about, oh, there's been all these improvements in mechanics. And what does Blizzard do with them? Nothing. They make it all a snooze fest, really. Because they consider their player base to be complete, utter imbeciles. And they have to treat them like complete, utter imbeciles. That's my gripe with it. Really. That's my bloody issue with all of that. Beyond that, you know, though I will acknowledge that a lot of the bad impressions that I had playing on my Paladin are due to the Paladin in itself. The Paladin is... What have you done, Blizzard? Just what the fuck have you done? Really. There need to be some major fix. Like, there are people who have played Protection Paladin that as long as I have who have the same impression. There are people like, say, Mike Pretrial, played all the tanks and said the Paladin's literally the worst tank to play. I don't know about the other tanks, but I do agree that it's horrible to play the Paladin right now. To play the Protection Paladin. It's just really the way the abilities are. A lot of your party utility has been taken out, or it's kind of less powerful. And it's just, you know what I enjoyed as a tank? I gotta make this argument. What I enjoyed as a tank was not doing my rotation. That's not what I enjoyed. I enjoyed being useful in a raid. I enjoyed, you know, keeping an eye on things that were happening in a fight and helping people with stuff. I enjoyed being able, as a paladin in particular, I enjoyed being able to contribute to the raid rather than just sit there in front of the boss mashing my rotation and just dealing with the abilities I have to deal with. That's always been the appeal of a tank to me, and it's less so in Legion. So that's the situation of the Paladin. But there is one bright spot in a sense. Play the Demon Hunter after that. Oh man, the Demon Hunter is awesome in comparisons. Like, it's fast, it feels good, it plays good, feels responsive, has a good number of cool abilities. Double jump, dash, right? In a sense, like, kind of, I guess you could say Blade here. It's like you're just dashing all over the place, hitting enemies. Metamorphosis is like you're playing a miniature Illidan in a sense as a Demon Hunter, and it feels fucking great. You know, people love Illidan. He's one of the most beloved characters in the series, and you know why? Because he's the one of the very few characters that Blizzard hasn't yet, I gotta stress that yet part, screwed over. Yet. But they might. And so far, it's like, oh, here's Thrall, here's Vol'jin, here's the leaders of the Horde, here's Varian, here's the Legion Invasion. It's like, and they then disappear. Vol'jin dies. Makes Sylvanas War Chief, who then disappears. You have a brief interaction with Illidan, who then disappears. You see Gul'dan, all that, they then disappear. It's like, Blizzard, seriously. Stop fucking teasing us like that. It's infuriating, really. Blizzard feels the need, and they felt the need since Wrath of the Lich King, to shove characters in our face. It's not quite as bad as Wrath of the Lich King, where the Lich King would show up in, what, almost every fucking zone to just mock you in your face. It kind of ruined the character, really. Whereas Illidan, say in Burning Crusade as an example, who wasn't ruined as a character, Illidan only showed up as an apparition, as a ghost, not really himself in person, as a ghost, as a vision, in 2 quests, I think it was, like the Netherwing one, and then the Eldar Chain in Shadow Moon Valley. And that was it. No, really, that was it. Kinda a big difference between the two of them. Right, so Demon Hunter's fine though, it's fun. Notwithstanding the fact that you're dealing with a lot of the nonsensical shitty questing that you've been dealing with for years. Nothing new there, no real improvements, you know, sure, some tweaks here and there. The artifacts, sure, you might get a few quests here and there that are interesting. The order thing, the class order stuff, not really that interesting. Anyway, that's kind of all I had to say on the subject. What I'd say in conclusion, based on my first impressions, is I am not interested in buying Legion. Really. I don't think I would have a good time. I don't think that it's gonna deliver. Blizzard is promising big, and I don't think they'll deliver. You know what? The fact that they made the alpha available to so many people, the fact they made the beta available to so many people, indicates to me that they're kind of a bit desperate at this point to try and get subscribers to the game, to try and get people back in the game. It's gonna fall flat on its face. And they're going for nostalgia in a very, very strong way. Oh, here's Maiev, here's Gul'dan. Well, obviously Gul'dan was at the in the last expansion on that and played an important role, but here's Maiev, here's Illidan, here's Nephanos Blightcaller, one of the most favorite characters in Vanilla WoW for people that knew about them, right? But then they ruin Nephanos Blightcaller. How the fuck do you do that? How do you do that? How do you take one of the more memorable and interesting characters from Vanilla, because he was a complete jackass, and ruin that? Well, you change the way he looks. You make him a human with glowing eyes as opposed to the Forsaken that he was in Vanilla. And then you remove all worm references. Nephanos was memorable because he insulted you openly, mocked you openly, and called you a fucking worm. An insignificant maggot. And now he doesn't anymore, right? Well, that's kind of all I had to say on this subject. Costin here, signing out. I'll keep playing Legion Beta, even though I am not having a good time doing so. I'll level up my Paladin, might even level up a Demon Hunter at this current rate, really. And I'll see where it leads me. That's all. Stay tuned for more.